you.
Stop yelling on it. Start. Didn't yell at me to start yet. He has to set up, the recording in progress is just to get you.
Glenn Marshall had over 50 years.
What's that?
Glenn Marshall had
Yeah,
over 50 years.
Yeah,
So they recognized him.
yeah.
No, that's.
His whole family, all Marshalls were all in the fire service. Uncle Nick and Mars, they were all over.
I'm telling you, he knows. Yeah, I call him up and he can tell you.
You're good.
We're good? All right, we're on. Welcome, everybody, to the, although it's March 31st, the April workshop. Before we get started, if we can get everybody to stand, please, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Them gym days are showing off already.
I'm like sitting there, and I'm looking in the mirror and I see him. I'm like,
Dave's guns are out.
Yeah. Dave was hulking
Yeah,
behind
the
me.
summer's coming. All right. Thank you for everybody coming here. Before we get started, we got the town board with us here today. We got the Deputy Supervisor Steve Morrell, Councilwoman Sylvia Santiago, Councilwoman Eve Lincoln, Councilman Charlie Brown. Got our Highway Superintendent Anthony Feo with us. The Police Chief Danny Valeri, the Town Clerk Victor Farino. We also have our Receiver of Taxes Sue Scheibel, our Town Attorney Dave Zigo. That's been Patrick Mangan, and it's on our IT keyboard there. All right, pretty easy one tonight. So the first item on the agenda is the actual evaluation for 2024. What this is just the we're going to receive and file it for the town board meeting. This just gives us a our medical costs, our future retiree town medical costs, which is obviously, as you see here, is not cheap. It's it ended up increased by 69.69 million, with a 10% increase from the 23 liability to 63 million. Obviously, the main driver of this is the health cost, healthcare cost, if you will, was up above expected. We did get a discounted rate though. So, I mean, this is something that it's just a necessary evil, honestly, to attract good employees and keep them here. But it is a huge part of our budget, but it's something that we have to do it's a biannual report that we have generated. So everybody got a copy of it there. Any questions or anything, but we're just going to receive a file. It's a report that this company does biannually. So the comptroller works on that. I know she stresses about that often, medical costs across the board, and it is a budget concern. Number 2 on the list here is this drive initiative. This is something through the police department. I'm actually going to defer a little bit to the chief. This is actually it's a memo that we're going to eventually sign with Orange County. It's New York's Drive Initiative. It's basically a task force that they're setting up, consisting of the Orange County District Attorney's Office, City of Newburgh, Fearless of Hudson Valley, which we have actually in our station a few times a week. The Town of New Windsor Police, City of Middletown, Orange County Sheriff's, and Orange County Probation. I think the Town of New Windsor was selected for, I think, a number of reasons. One, that we do have Fearless in our office. We do take domestic reports often for everything, where not all agencies do it. Then they get a call and, people refuse. We still take the report. So we do a lot of work when it comes to it. So it's something that they're going to be, we're going to have a member. I think it's going to be our detective sergeant, right? The chief on that?
Yeah, he's our liaison.
Okay. And I know you had I think you talked to him, or you got briefed on it today a little bit.
Yeah, he's been, coordinating with that committee there to go through each step. There's a lot of steps in the process. But we have submitted our draft proposal. The final proposal is due next week, and then they'll look at what everybody submitted and come to some kind of allocation of what they're going to do with the money.
All right, good. Yeah, so I think they'll probably end up after they do this, there's gonna be some, MOU that we're gonna have to sign. And then, sure, this will come with some money towards this for this in reference to, probably a lot going through Fearless, I assume, which is, like I said, stationed here in our police department. But we, welcome any help, assistance, education, everything on that topic, which is a decent thing. Again, that'll be something we'll be signing soon. The next thing is this New York Cares Up grant. And the chief can touch on this, but this basically, we've been selected, for, and it's a grant for uniform, personnel organizations. The grant, it's $60,000 over 2 years. So it's gonna be 30,000 a year. Plus there may be some more funding, which I think the chief may be working on in rep before training and stuff. It creates organizational culture, improvement, mental health at work, reduces impact work trauma and stress. This is like a huge, wellness it does for them. It's actually a pretty good, I'm kind of excited about this grant, and I know the chief, you have some info on that, chief, too, is this thing?
Yeah, it's, I saw the grant, request for applications. I thought it was something that we could, benefit from, so I put in for it, and as it turns out, we were selected. Also, the Orange County put in for it as well, so I think if we kind of pool our resources, we'll be able to do some collaboration with them, which would be good.
Yeah, and it's just definitely a good,
Yeah.
a good thing we like to see to keep our men and women down there healthy and doing things. So I appreciate, you even putting in for that. I know the chief's been putting in for grants when we can see them, and we've been actually doing pretty well for this last year or so with grants with, a number of them. So again, I appreciate that. Looking forward to that getting instituted. The next thing on here is the police department generator. So back last month, we had a power outage, which was caused, I believe, by a tree down. Of course, it caused the town hall power to go out, both generators. We have one up front, which covers the front part of the building, and we have the police department generator, which basically covers the new part of the building, which is like from my office back to the police department. The generator kicked on like it was supposed to. The 35-year generator kicked on like it was supposed to. It ran for a little bit and then decided to blow up, literally blew the motor on it. We're still poking around with Gentech, who's our generator operator, if you will, in reference to some maybe causes and what happened to it. But again, it's a 35-year generator. The generator's in the building. It sits in a, as soon as you come in, all the employees walk in the back door. It's in it's in the room on your left-hand side. So nonetheless, we have to replace the generator. So, what we're doing is we're moving the generator from inside the building to outside, and actually frees up some more storage space that we're in dire need of. It's gonna go outside. We're gonna purchase on an emergency basis. There's a generator out back, a temporary one, which is ours. Gentech had come and hooked up theirs, and I asked them to take it out of there because the town has one we use for the sewer plant. He came and wired that in for us. We went out got a couple quotes on them for the emergency basis. Gentech come in the cheapest, at $63,990, nearly $64,000, and that's just for the generator, the automatic transfer switch, and him removing the old stuff and setting the new one. There's some concrete work that needs to be done in order for a generator to go in, plus some electrical work. So I'm looking at this probably going to be towards the 100,000 mark. Again, not something we were prepared for or budgeted for. But I think we're gonna get a new one in there. The new one, the blown up generator only did portions of the new section of the building. This new one we're getting is gonna be more than twice the size of that one, and it's gonna cover the entire section of the building. So we're not gonna, when the generator goes up, clicks on, nothing's gonna be without power. Everything will be lit up.
That money just comes out of the general reserve.
So,
or
yeah,
goes
well, that'll end up
or-
coming out of probably either unallocated funds, or the comptroller's got, she's a
Yeah,
wizard
yeah,
at
she'll
this, so
figure it out.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's a number of funds we can take it from, and I don't wanna
right.
talk where it's possible, I don't want the chief to get upset.
Yeah.
But they're, they can come from a number of places,
Yeah.
but hopefully, like I said,
Okay.
we got it. Oddly enough, we went through a state bidding, site, Sourcewell, and through Gentech, him putting it in is actually cheaper than the state bidding site. So it worked out in a kind of in our favor, if you will. but,
I've done a number of those through my work.
yeah,
It's actually not a bad price.
no,
You're
it's a one,
volunteering.
Yeah.
it's a 125 KW.
Yeah.
We have downstairs with the
Yeah.
50. So I don't know, it's something new. Again, it's 35-year-old stuff. We're gonna get something new.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And then
that'll
you
be,
sleep better at night. too.
yeah, exactly. And it'll run for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
that night was kind of chaos
Oh,
there
yeah.
because the
Oh, yeah.
same night that blew up, the ambulance corps one didn't start because the battery was dead on it. So which caused some back and forth with Gentech. So they're gonna work on their
I was thinking about that.
side of it, but
You get a
uh,
good service plan on that too. and
yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
no, that's definitely what we're gonna do. We're gonna start servicing all the town hall once, twice a
Yeah,
year. We were
yeah,
doing them once. so-
Absolutely.
Well, we're good for that. Next item on the agenda is the 2024 financial year-end review and budget transfer. This is on the agenda for a motion. So basically, I know we're actually presently have an audit going on in this room for the comptroller's office, our annual audit. I'm certain that they actually taken some different factors in with medical insurance and stuff like that, but basically, I was actually pretty excited how the year ended, honestly, last year.
Mhm.
So the town board approved the budget last year with the use of 1.17 million of general funds reserves throughout all the budget lines that we've budgeted for reserves, we only used 100,000. So, I attribute that to our town, our department heads who actually worked hard to make sure that they kept costs down for us and the employees as well, understanding that that's all we're looking to do to keep it down. We do plug those reserves in to keep the tax numbers down and underneath the statemented tax cap. And with that, with all our wizard and the comptroller's office and everything, we were able to only use 100,000.
Pretty good numbers. yeah.
Yeah, so they did well. You guys see the report there. We're
Yeah.
gonna receive, it was actually a nice surprise. Unfortunately, these things pop up down here with the generator and stuff like that, kind of put our whole back in the for us, but we'll figure it out. We've been getting, like I said, we've been getting a bunch of grants and stuff like that. So I think some of them grants that we're getting now that we have budgeted for this year are gonna offset that. So hopefully we can dip into that. That's gonna be a authorization on the town board meeting on Wednesday. Stop signs in Raz and Reed Avenue. So this was caused by me. So up on the airport in Reed Street, Reed Street was blocked off for nearly 20 years now. The town had an agreement with I'm gonna call it the GSA for lack of better terms, but the town had an agreement with the government agency there that Reed Street will be blocked off because of a distance, because the building had the Marines in it, and there was a distance that they couldn't have a road, which was crazy to me. But anyway, fast forward to today, that building, the Marine building's empty now. It's vacant. They're, I guess, trying to sell it. Next to, on one side of Reed Street was the old Marine Corps. On the other side of Reed Street is a company that's looking to come in and build there. For me, it's been kind of bothering me, although the road's not in the great shape, it's been kind of bothering me because Raz Avenue, which is the school there from Abilities First, has only access to their building one way, and that's coming in through, from the Blacktop plant, if you will, to get to down to Reed Street to get to the building. And to me, it was always crazy because, tactically, whether it be for the fire department trying to get there, God forbid the police department had to get there, there was only one way in and one way out. The school buses, people turn around, their employees parking, blocking a dead end. So I had, being that the building was vacant, the military building, I asked Anthony if him and the highway department come over and move all of the Jersey barriers, which he did. And thank you for that. And they moved them, they cleaned up the street best they could. The streets, been 20 years not in use. So you can imagine some trees growing up between the cracks and everything. But so now the street's open, and down on the west side of the Raz Avenue is like a housing place for COs and stuff, corrections officers. Now they're exiting that way, going out, whatever, great for them. Now the school is kind of complaining about the car speeding down there and not stopping when their bus is trying to come out. So I spoke to Anthony, asked if we could put a few stop signs up, which he did. And now we got to make the stop signs legitimate. So the stop signs are up there right now. The chief has, his guys ordered to, at this minute right now, not to enforce it until it's a safety concern. The school, the village first sent me a letter saying, they're concerned about the buses pulling out of there and cars coming down there fast. I could see it. I was out there and it's, so just a couple stop signs. So we have to have a public hearing on this and then after that, in the following month, it'll get approved and we'll be good with, the stop signs at the Raz Avenue and Reed Street. Hopefully, I actually come to find out too, that if this company does build on this particular lot that it fronts aviation and the side of Raz, that they may need this street now to enter their lot because of a grade issue, so which ended up being good for them, so.
Yep.
If this company does buy that particular lot from Simone, opening this was a godsend for them as well, so. Hopefully just get them to pave it, and we'll be good, so. But you'll see that on the agenda. The Stewart filter plant, we just have the public hearing for the planning bond for engineering costs and the preliminary design for the Stewart filter plant. So that's our public hearing for Wednesday. And the planning bond is basically to make sure we capture anything from this point forward, if you will, once we start getting into this project. For any engineering costs for the project. And then we would eventually increase this bond to whatever cost we needed to do the project. So I know, that was I think it was a planning bond, I think it was a $2 million bond. For the was that 2 million? I believe it was. $2 million planning bond for this project. And this is, like I said, this would be the start of the new Stewart filter plant, that we plan on hopefully doing in 2 phases. The first phase will be a tank or 2, depending on, we had a meeting, we actually had a very good meeting with the Port Authority a couple weeks ago in reference to their needs for water and how much they need, because it kind of really drives how big of a tank we need or 2. The meeting I felt went well. We're gonna engage them more to kind of see what they need, but then phase 1 would be the tanks, phase 2 will be the plant with the new hookup on Jackson Avenue pump station, so. And then hopefully we can migrate, my goal is to migrate 99.9% off the wells and be back on aqueduct water, so. Everybody's faucets are white. So that's the public hearing on that. Intermunicipal agreement, Mount Hope. So this was something I wanted to put up there and I wanted to just throw around and see what you folks think. So I was in, the supervisor of Mount Hope engaged me and asked me about us entering an agreement with them for their IT services. We threw some numbers at them. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, I believe Patrick from IT is going to go out there and do a full evaluation of their site to see what actually needs to be done, what not needs to be done. I'm not thrilled about it. I will tell you that the supervisor called me, so I'm entertaining his, what he wants. We're gonna look at it and do what we got there. Again, it's far, for me, it's too far off the beaten path for us to go out there. We're losing, we lose IT people for a couple hours now, travel, going out there, do what they gotta do to work on a computer for 2 hours or 3 hours.
We charge for travel time.
So you do, but we're
It's
talking,
like-
it's such a small account. We're talking
yeah,
a couple
it's not
$1,000. Is it worth it? We charge for travel time, but we're not charging beating up our vehicles
Yeah.
and our guy, folks being out of town for that long. I don't know if it's gonna be worth it. I will tell you, just to kind of give you a little, number thing that we're at now. Right now, we're at our first quarter, we're at approximately $33,000 in labor revenue. Where that puts us on $133,000 a year revenue number.
Taking into account the employees' salary.
Well,
like
so,
or no?
that comes off of that, if you will, but
Okay.
last year we took in 162 in revenue, so we're obviously down a little bit, but. And I do, so I weekly, the IT department has a 9 o'clock meeting every morning amongst their staff. I attended it today. It was definitely interactive and, we went over a lot of stuff. The more they put in, Town of Newburgh, whoever we do, the more they're putting new computers and doing stuff in there, the less we're gonna probably have to work on them, because they're putting all new stuff in.
Right.
Come to find out we need, we're probably gonna need 200 and some odd computers or 100 and some odd computers, maybe in town here because of Windows 10, end of life and stuff like that. But again, more work we do and outside these places and bring them up to snuff, the less we're gonna probably do. So this revenue stream may obviously drop each year because it's new, and then I'm kind of hoping everybody's computers break down. But You know, unfortunately, they don't want that, but I like it.
What's first quarter like profit, like net looking like, or we don't know, like?
Well, I mean, so right now, just
Yeah,
for the,
okay.
just for the labor, it was 33,250. And again, like I said, 162 is on that. So
Okay.
you know, if they're on, and that's the revenue that we take in. So we'll try to take off our lowest employee
Right.
from that. You know, the goal always from this IT, you know, municipals was to try to at least capture two of
For
them.
two people, yeah.
And I don't, you know, we obviously haven't quite lead, and each year you gotta realize when we're trying to capture that, they're getting raises too, so we're, you know, chasing our tail on it. But it's the nature of the beast, I guess, you know what I mean? It's not, at least they're paying for one and then some. And we're using them here. Our IT, not quite as much as we're beating up our law office, but our IT does quite a bit. But they're starting, you know, we're starting to poke at them, at least I am, for savings on certain things. You know, we just did a demo. I actually I have two phones in my office, and I feel like the president, I see he's got two on his desk, so I have two in my office. One is a phone from a cloud-based company that we're looking at,
Ah.
and one is from Cisco, which we have now. I've been asking to go, you know, to research the cloud-based system. They did it, like I said, demo, Cisco did a demo in there. We have one in my office. The company came here. Right off the top, we're looking at probably $50,000-$60,000 savings just to go to the cloud without this. So, you know, I'm poking at IT to, you know, I want to save. I don't want, it's, you know, year over year, it's been just hit the renew button. And I said, no,
Yeah.
let's start doing things. So we're not going to do that now. So again, Patrick's going to come back with, some numbers on this to see if it's even worth it. Again, you know, when he gets back, I'll talk to John, in IT to see what, you know, what happened with Patrick's review. And then I'll call the supervisor and tell him yay or nay, and you know, what we're gonna do, but, just so you're aware, we're looking at that. And the last thing is the dedication of Fox Hill subdivision, finally, however, I think we suffered a bit of a setback. So there's just so right now, to kind of give you the Reader's Digest version, they have, this has been, just so you know, it's been since 2001. Unfortunately, everything rears its head when I've been in here. So they're looking to dedicate this. The owner of the subdivision, Dan, has a guy named Dave Bartolone, who's a super nice guy. Dave's been working towards getting this done. I know our engineer firm MHE they had Dave Fritz and with Anthony out there. They've settled a number of our concerns before we take dedication. The plan was we were gonna take dedication this meeting, with the caveat, there's a couple things they needed to just finish off. I'm gonna call it just the round figures. We have like $800,000 in money from them now in escrow. We would return that and make them take out a $350,000 maintenance bond. The owner really didn't want to do that. He wanted to finish the project and make sure all the stuff are done. He's contesting that everything is done, so we're back and forth with that. So at best, this will be dedicated next month if all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. So you hopefully, if anybody talks to anybody out there in that subdivision for whatever reason, because I believe there's an issue with until it's dedicated mail not being delivered to their homes and bus stops being at the end of the road and not all the way in their subdivision. So and by the time this gets, you know, kids will almost be out of school at that point, but I think at that point, once we dedicate it, I think, Anthony, you notify like their mail people, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
by then the bus companies, yeah.
The bus company and everything, and then it usually takes probably a couple of weeks for them to kick in, so that's basically, it with that subdivision, and then there's a few other subdivisions in the pipeline that they're trying to get planning board approval for, but that'll happen down the road. And not on the agenda, I just found out, for transparency here, as we all know, that we do sell and supply KJ with our, with 500,000 gallons a month of well water. We, prior to this administration in the last 4 years, if you will, there was sort of a kind of a guarantee letter that the town engaged with them and said we would supply them 1 million. However, my predecessor only allowed, and the board only said no, 500 was what we wanted to do at the time. We've generated a ton of revenue, again, selling our well water to KJ through their pipeline that goes down 32. They have just about hit I think they got all their approvals now, right? They would believe pretty much. I think they're good with the finish line. I think we've got to do a couple, maybe, I don't know, memos or some, make sure everything's right. And at any point now, I think we're gonna flip the switch to supply them the 1,000,000 gallons a day.
Oh.
Again, this is gonna generate, we were planning on feeding the town of Newburgh water for, since the shut down, and that was built-in revenue for this year, and that we lost, so this will definitely pick up for that. I did, the first 500,000 gallons, we negotiated, my predecessor negotiated with KJ, and I think it was basically the rate we charge our outside users. When they came to me, and asked me about the second 500,000, I told them that I wouldn't do it unless it was nearly double it, and they were like, okay, so. I tried to go back to the first 500 and try to double that, but they said, no, there's an agreement. I'm like, all right. So it was nearly double, and then they said, okay, so they're gonna pay, whatever revenue, say we generate 1.8 million a year for the 500, we'll generate twice that for the next 500, so. And it depends on how long, they have their own connection on Riley Road. That's been going on for years and years, and they're moving forward to add that connection to their pipe, and then at some point they're gonna shut us down, so. So I'm gonna capture what I can from them till then. And that was something that was not on there. And that's it on the agenda. Anybody got anything they wanted to maybe bring up or talk about in the public's eyes for any reason or anything? Stefan,
I'd like to
what would you like?
make a motion to
I'll
move to executive session.
Okay, you wanna make a motion to go to executive session for
Second.
personnel reasons?
And I will second that.
Oh, Charlie's gonna second it, Patty?
Alright.
Noted.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I appreciate Anthony, if you can hang out and the
Yeah,
chief
sure.
too, because we got a couple